Hello, my name is Dr. Michael Veselak, and on the group page, I stated that I was going to talk about the organic acids test, which is my favorite test that I run that most people have never heard of. But it's a way for us functional medicine practitioners to actually determine what is the underlying cause. Now, there are some other tests that through time I'll go over just so you can get a better understanding, because I know a lot of you have been to different doctors and are just trying to do whatever you can to feel better. And then sometimes you just have to dig a little deeper. Now, the downside of these tests are insurances just don't cover them. So the organic acids tests, there's two labs in the countries that run them. One is called Genova Diagnostics, and the other one is Great Plains Laboratories. And all us functional medicine practitioners, we know about these labs. They run these tests for us to, again, try to discover the underlying cause, which is the basis of functional medicine. So I'm going to share the screen with you with this test, organic acids test that I ran on this one patient. I just thought it was a really good example. Just give me a second here. And there we go. Okay, so the test, it gives us a lot of different markers. Now, this is the test from Genova Diagnostics. They call it the optimal nutritional evaluation, the one test. I ran this test on this patient probably a couple of years back. I now run most of my tests through Great Plains Laboratory. I just think there's one marker that I like to see. So anyway, but this was a good example, so I just want to show you. So the first thing it goes over what nutritional needs that you might need or you might be lacking. So, you know, you can see the B vitamins, the magnesium, the vitamin C with this patient. And then it kind of gives you like, hey, this is the recommended dose for this patient. We'll kind of get into how they give those recommendations in a second. So let me just go up here a little bit to get into kind of the part that I really like. Okay, so when you look at this test, you can see that where my marker is right here. It says malabsorption markers. This part, we're actually looking at how the gut is functioning. Like, is there yeast problems such as candida? That's what this is for right here, this arabinose. And this patient, why I picked this report is she had a lot going on. So there was a lot of yeast markers, some bacterial issues. So we basically know her gut was a big problem. And what you've seen me state on the board time and time again, that the gut is the foundation of health. And the reason why that is 70 to 80% of your immune system resides in your gut. So if your gut is not healthy, it's too hard to get the rest of your body healthy. The other thing is there's a huge gut-brain connection. So if the gut isn't healthy, the brain isn't going to quite function as well as it should also. And that's sometimes the reason for that brain fog. So we're looking at bacterial markers, yeast markers, how the gut's functioning. The next thing, and this to me is probably the most important part, it's how your body takes food and converts it to energy. So a lot of chronic pain patients have anxiety, or not anxiety, fatigue issues, probably anxiety also, but fatigue issues. And so what we do is when we take food, we're supposed to convert it to energy in what they call the Krebs Cycle. And these are all different markers in the Krebs Cycle, you know, all these little things. And this patient, if you have any marker in the red, you're going to be tired. This patient was really exhausted. They have 7 markers in the red, which isn't good. I mean, it was amazing she even was able to function to come to my office. So it allows us to look at what the actual mitochondria is doing within the cell. And the mitochondria is the part of the cell that produces the energy. The next thing it looks at is neurotransmitters. So I said anxiety earlier. These markers, they're kind of these fancy names here, but these are markers for 5-OH. We call it 5-OH-IA. That is a marker for serotonin. This one's a marker for dopamine. This is a marker for norepinephrine. So if you're having issues with neurotransmitters, we look right here and see why. There's another thing sometimes with fibromyalgia and some other chronic degenerative diseases is we get this, brain fog and this inflammatory state in the brain. This marker allows me to see quinolinic acid. Is the brain in a state of inflammation? And if it is, then that really becomes the priority that we must address right then and there. At the beginning, when I showed you the different vitamin markers, these are all the different names for what these vitamins are. So you can see, like, she was really deficient because her body was not converting the food like she should into energy and breaking down the food properly. So she was super deficient in all of her minerals and vitamins. The next thing it looks at is detoxification. So we always talk about, we got to detoxify properly. These are markers to see if your body is able to do that. So we're all exposed to chemicals every day, pesticides, different environmental toxins, and we're designed to handle all of these like so efficiently. Our bodies are incredibly, but sometimes people, for genetic reasons, the body just becomes overloaded and it can't deal with these toxins. So we hit a certain age and our body just goes tilt, and then these problems start to occur. Now, if the problems occurred when you were younger, let's say in your teens, then for sure the underlying cause is genetic. So I will actually run a genetic test also to take a look at why this happened to you. And that's way too much to go into today. But anyway, I just want to show you all the things this one lab test does. So here's the detoxification markers. Tyrosine is important because it's a precursor to one of our major neurotransmitters, dopamine. So I know there's a lot of ADHD and anxiety problems. So I like to look at how tyrosine is functioning, and is tyrosine able to convert to dopamine? Sometimes that is the issue. There's a couple other things it looks at. So it looks at all the amino acids in the body. Now, when I look at a chronic patient, most of the time they're deficient in amino acids. So it's one of the first things I will give them is some amino acid supplement. So believe me, I am big into CBD. I have seen more change with CBD than anything I've ever seen in my 35 years of practice. But CBD by itself is just not a cure-all. You have to sometimes do other things to support the body, especially when you see these markers off. Like if you're deficient in amino acids, you just can't give CBD to fix the problem, although CBD does put our body into a state of homeostasis, which helps to normalize things and helps it to improve. So it looks at all the amino acids here. It looks at, again, these are different markers to see how your body is dealing with certain things like ammonia and how it's actually detoxifying kidney stuff. And then let's see what else we got. And then finally, it looks at a marker called oxidative stress. So oxidative stress is our body dealing with what they call these free radicals properly? And free radicals are what's making our body sick from the inside. We are designed to handle these. We have a built-in mechanism or mechanisms to deal with this, but sometimes, again, the load becomes so overpowering that our body just can't deal with it anymore. So we'll be in a state of oxidative stress. Now, unfortunately, when you're dealing with chronic pain, chronic degenerative disease, we're under more oxidative stress. I mean, our bodies are just taxed to just try to get through that day. So anyway, these are the markers I look at. So it shows you about oxidative stress. How many, does your body have enough amino acids to convert it to the process that we need? It looks at ammonia and different detoxification markers here. How the gut is functioning, neurotransmitters, vitamin deficiency, and for me, most importantly, mitochondria. All chronic illness doesn't really start in the mitochondria, but affects the mitochondria. So that is a big marker for me. So when you start to look at these labs and start to fix people from the inside, you actually start to see improvement. So certain supplements, along with CBD, some dietary lifestyle changes, that's how basically we approach our patients. So I hope this wasn't too overwhelming. I just want to give you a background of how important this test is. The cost from the labs, it's $309. I have you pay them directly. If you're interested, you can PM me. My staff can send you a kit, and I'll be more than happy to read it for you. I'm going to work out special pricing for the group. I'm not in this to make money. I'm in this to educate people, but I can't, I'm super busy as it is. And so I'm going to probably charge like half or a third the price that I normally charge. I will let you know how much that is if you PM me, but believe me, it's not going to be a lot of money. And thank you so much. And feel free to ask me any questions on the board. I'm trying to be super available to all of you. And in between patients, I'm checking. I come home at night, get up in the morning and check. So if I don't get back to you, it means it's just too busy in the office. All right. Take care. Thanks so much.